Picture this, it's 2014, you flip on the news and there he is. Justin Bieber, the boy wonder, is grinning in a mugshot like it's a high-profile movie premiere. Back then, he was arguably the most hated man in the music industry. Critics were sharpening their pens, parents were shielding their kids from his influence, and the internet was basically one giant glowing "I hate Justin Bieber" forum. Fast forward to 2024, and he's a global icon, a respected veteran artist, and the ultimate blueprint for how to survive the brutal meat grinder of child stardom. It's the ultimate pop star resurrection, isn't it? Honestly, did anyone actually think he'd make it this far? Most people back then were placing bets on his total downfall, fully expecting him to become another tragic cautionary Hollywood statistic. But Justin didn't just survive the transition from teen idol to adult star. He absolutely conquered it. Today, we're breaking down the moves that saved his career when everyone was ready to throw him away. Let's take a quick trip down memory lane to the legendary Baby era. You remember the bowl cut, right? That swooping, perfectly feathered hair was everywhere. It was the phenomenon that triggered a global obsession. Bieber fever wasn't just a catchy phrase, it was a real high-energy cultural epidemic. Girls were screaming until they lost their voices, records were being shattered daily, and a kid from Stratford, Ontario was suddenly the most recognizable face on the planet. But with that intense obsessive love came an equally intense, almost violent wave of hatred. It was like if you weren't a believer, you were his #1 enemy. The mockery was relentless. Late night hosts made him the punchline of every single joke. And people across the globe were making memes before memes were even a standard part of our daily vocabulary. He was the kid everyone loved to hate, yet he was still pulling in millions of dollars and topping every chart. But being a teenage superstar isn't all glitz and glamour, and the pressure was building up behind those pearly white teeth and that signature smile. Eventually, the bubble had to burst, and boy, did it burst in the most spectacular way possible. We reached the infamous downward spiral moments that had us all glued to our phone screens and gossip sites. Remember the mop bucket incident? Or the time he was caught drag racing in Miami under the influence? And let's not forget the most bizarre and heartbreaking headline of all, the pet monkey he literally abandoned in Germany. It was total unmitigated chaos. The media was having a field day, feasting on every mistake. People were asking the same burning question. Was he just a spoiled brat who had too much power too soon? Or was he a genuine victim of a predatory industry that doesn't care about the mental health of its young stars? It felt like every week there was a new headline, a new leaked video of him losing his cool, or another complex legal battle. It honestly looked like his career was over before he even hit 21. So here's the million-dollar question. How do you go from being a punchline to being the artist that every major rapper and singer wants to collaborate with? Seriously, how do you get superstars like Drake and Travis Scott lining up to work with you after you've been caught peeing in a restaurant's cleaning supplies? It seems impossible, right? But the shift wasn't an accident. It wasn't just a stroke of luck or the public simply forgetting about his chaotic past. This was a calculated high-stakes pivot that involved some of the biggest names in the business. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. This transition was a masterclass in rebranding and public relations. Justin knew he couldn't be the baby singer forever. But he also realized he couldn't just play the role of the bad boy and expect to survive long term. He needed something deeper, something more authentic to bridge the gap. Stay tuned because we're just getting started on this wild journey. We're about to dive deep into the secret meetings and the specific people who pulled him back from the absolute edge of obscurity. There were masterminds working behind the scenes, carefully planning his redemption arc while the world was still laughing at his mugshot. Was it all just a clever PR stunt, or did Justin really find a way to change who he was at his core? The journey from a small town kid with a guitar to a multi-billion-dollar brand is crazier than any movie script you've ever seen, and the people in his inner circle have some seriously juicy stories to tell. We're looking at the architects of his fame and the moments that truly defined whether he would sink or swim in the shark-infested waters of the global music industry. You guys won't believe what happened behind those closed doors. To understand how a teenager goes from a YouTube upload to a billion-dollar brand, you have to look at the man behind the curtain. Scooter Braun isn't just a manager, he's the ultimate architect of fame. Scooter was just a guy with a vision, scrolling through the web when he accidentally clicked on a video of a kid singing in a local competition. A single click changed the course of music history forever. Scooter saw something everyone else missed, a raw charisma that transcended the digital screen. Was he a genius mentor or just a master puppet master? The story of how he turned grainy home videos into a multi-billion-dollar empire is the stuff of legend, but it also raises questions about the cost of having that much success so quickly. Scooter knew how to play the industry like a fiddle, and he wasn't about to let his golden goose slip away without a fight. This led to what might be the most intense bidding war. Imagine being a young kid from Canada and having the two biggest stars on the planet, Usher and Justin Timberlake, fighting for the chance to sign you. It was a clash of the titans. Timberlake wanted him, but Usher eventually won out, and that move was a stroke of genius. Why did Justin choose Usher? It wasn't just about the money, it was about the culture. Usher provided Justin with an immediate cool factor and R&B credibility that a pop manager couldn't provide. That mentorship became the foundation of his sound, giving him the edge needed to compete with industry pros. Usher didn't just teach him how to sing, he taught him how to move, how to handle the spotlight, and how to navigate the lines of the music world. Where did this kid come from? The small town mystery of Stratford, Ontario, is a huge part of the puzzle. Justin wasn't born into a musical dynasty. He was a kid with a single mom living in subsidized housing. He was out there busking on the steps of the local theater, playing his guitar for spare change, while most kids his age were playing video games. That humble beginning is why his fans, the Beliebers, felt such a deep connection to him. It was a rags to riches story that felt personal. However, as the fame grew, the pressure of that small town upbringing started to clash with the spotlight. You can take the boy out of Stratford, but can you take the Stratford out of the boy? That grounded nature is something he'd spend years trying to find again after the world turned him into a commodity. Then we have to talk about the Helena factor. His relationship with Selena Gomez was more than just a teenage romance. It was a massive PR machine that dominated the internet. Whether they were truly in love or just the perfect headline generating dynamic is something fans still debate to this day. For nearly a decade, their ups and downs kept both their names in the news cycle even when the music wasn't. Every Instagram post, every song lyric, and every public appearance was analyzed like a crime scene. It was exhausting for them, but for the industry, it was gold. During his darkest years, the people Justin surrounded himself with became his lifeline, or his downfall. Who were the real friends, and who were the yes men just there for the private jets and the parties? This was when he leaned into his inner circle, Pastor Carl Lentz and his security team. They were trying to manage a young man who was spiraling out of control, but while the world saw a disaster, Justin was working on a secret weapon, the Journals album. This project was a masterstroke of rebranding. It wasn't a traditional pop record, it was an R&B heavy collection that proved he had real artistry. It was the bridge he needed to cross from teeny bopper to a credible adult artist. The bad boy persona, as messy as it was, served a necessary purpose. It gave him the street cred he needed to break away from the squeaky clean image that would have killed his career. He had to become a rebel to survive the adult market. And boy, did he lean into it. This bold shift allowed him to reclaim his own voice and narrative in a world that wanted him stuck in time. Critics thought he was finished, but the comeback was already being built brick by brick. You can't talk about a legendary comeback without talking about the Purpose era. This wasn't just a new album, it was a full-blown public apology set to a heavy dance beat. Do you remember when Where Are You Now dropped? Suddenly the guys who spent years making fun of the bowl-cut kid were bumping his music in their cars. It was a massive cultural shift. Then came the heavy hitters like What Do You Mean and Sorry. He was literally asking the world for forgiveness through song, and surprisingly, the world said yes. This era proved that Justin wasn't just a survivor of child stardom. He was a hit-making machine who could dominate the global charts while simultaneously rebranding his entire soul. He went from being a punchline to being the king of the summer, showing everyone that his talent was far bigger than his past mistakes. It was the ultimate I told you so to the critics who thought he was finished. But the music was only half of the redemption story. The real shocker that left everyone's jaw on the floor. His sudden marriage to Hailey Bieber. One minute he was the world's most eligible and slightly chaotic bachelor, and the next, he's a married man. People were skeptical for sure. Was it a rebound? Was it a PR move to clean up his image? The rumors were flying everywhere, but as time passed, we started seeing a completely different side of Justin. He swapped the wild nights and the bad boy antics for quiet walks and church services. Haley became his rock, the stabilizing force who kept him grounded when the industry tried to pull him back under the waves. She helped shift his public image from a troubled youth to a devoted husband, and honestly, it might have saved his life. You could actually see a peace in his eyes that had been missing for a decade. It's wild how much one person can change your entire trajectory, isn't it? It hasn't all been sunshine and roses, though. Justin's vulnerability reached a whole new level when he started opening up about his serious health struggles, sharing his battle with Lyme disease and later the terrifying Ramsay-Hunt syndrome, which literally paralyzed half of his face, was a massive turning point for his public perception. Instead of the usual snarky headlines, the public reacted with genuine concern. Seeing a global superstar show that kind of physical frailty was a major reality check for everyone. He wasn't hiding behind a curated mask anymore. He was showing the cracks in the armor, and that made him more relatable than ever. It reminded us all that behind the multi-platinum records and the insane fame, there's just a human being trying to navigate a very difficult world. And if you think his influence is fading with the new generation, just take a look at TikTok or X. Gen Z has officially reclaimed his discography in a big way. There are massive threads titled "Bieber is the Blueprint" on where young fans analyze how his style, from the baggy streetwear to the melodic R&B pop blend, basically paved the way for every new artist today. They aren't looking at the 2014 scandals, they're looking at the craft. His older tracks are trending again, and a new generation is discovering that the baby singer actually has one of the best musical catalogs in modern history. It's a total cultural reevaluation that most artists can only dream of achieving. Then came the absolute power move that shook the business world, selling his entire music catalog for a staggering $200 million. Think about that for a second. Most artists wait until they're in their 60s to cash out, but Justin did it in his 20s. Is he retiring? Is he just tired of the industry grind? Or is this just the beginning of a massive new business empire? This move gives him total financial freedom to do whatever he wants, whether that's making experimental music or just focusing on being a dad. Speaking of which, the rumors of a comeback album are always swirling, and with him entering the world of fatherhood, everyone is watching to see how he handles the paparazzi lens as a parent. So what's the final verdict on the Bubs? Is Justin Bieber the greatest comeback story in the history of music, or did he just have the most elite PR team that money could buy? Maybe it's a bit of both. He went from the absolute brink of self-destruction to being a respected, settled icon at just 30 years old. He's been through the fire and came out on the other side with a legacy that's practically bulletproof. Whatever he decides to do next, one thing is for sure: you can never count him out. He's the kid from Stratford who conquered the world, lost it all, and then won it back on his own terms. Let us know what you think in the comments. Is he the ultimate GOAT of pop? Don't forget to like and subscribe for more